going to spend a little bit of time talking about signing students up for college and career day. Specifically, what kind of information you're going to want to get from them down the road, so that way you can apply that information into organizing them in where they're going to go, how they're going to go, how you're going to get that information out. We used forms for that. You can use SurveyMonkey, you can use Google Forms. We used Microsoft Forms this year. Last year we used Google Forms. So it just depends on, what kind of functionality you're looking to get. This is an example of the one that we use this year. Oh, The Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss, which is a nice background. You can set up whatever background you want if you have a picture on your desktop. When you're setting these questions up, first name, last name, maybe you want to use grade level. Think about how you may want to export this into Excel and what you're going to use that Excel sheet for. We're going to go into that in a little bit of detail later. Student ID, we knew we wanted student email addresses, and we weren't sure whether or not it was going to produce that for us the first time we did it. It turned out that we did wind up getting it, so we didn't need this, but better to ask for more information than you need. If there's a little red star here, that means it's required. So when you go to create that question, right, this is a fill in the blank response. You can click the required button. You can move these questions up and down wherever you want. When it came to who is your connections teacher, we chose that because we knew we wanted students to be getting this information in their advisory connections class and then going to their different sessions that they wanted to attend. Last year, when we were in person, we mail merged a lot of that information onto student reflection forms, and that went out to different teachers' connections classes. When you export things into Excel sheet, you want them as uniformed as possible. So if you're hoping that students can type their teacher's name in and spell it the same way for every student in the class, I think that might be a little optimistic. So we just made a drop down for it. That way students could scroll through and click on the advisory teacher that they have and choose it. Now we get to the part where they're actually going to choose what session they want to go to. So wherever your presenters are, you're going to want to make one choice. This is a multiple choice question. I would not recommend, hindsight, putting this long descriptor. Now, it seemed like a great idea at the time because students could see what that session is going to entail. But when it exports into an Excel sheet, it makes for a really long, messy row. So maybe have all these descriptors, in a handout or an email or something like that. And then when they go into the form, that they simply choose the one that they want. These are set up to where they can only choose one. And instead of making multiple answers or multiple questions for each of these, you can just come in here and simply, once you fill out the first one, you can just copy that. You copy the question, boom, it produces the exact same question, and then you just change it so it says first career choice to second. Well, now you got all the different questions you want on here the way that you want them. Next thing is to go to your settings and make sure it's going to go to the people that you want. So we set this up so it's only going to people in our organization, meaning students in our Skyward Active Directory or our teams, which is a closed network. That created some problems, as we're going to talk about down the road, and how to connect these presenters with the actual students when we're in a virtual environment. When we're in school, it's pretty easy, right? Because they're going to just head to that classroom. Speaking of that, if you are in person, I would recommend you do like animal trainer dash and then what room that presenter is going to be presenting in, because then if you're mail merging later on, it's automatically going to tell the student where they're going to want to go. So it's going to save you trouble down the road if it's in person or even part of it's in person. We wanted one response per person. It automatically recorded the name. So thankfully, since it's Active Directory, as soon as they log in, it's going to give us their email address. It's going to give us their name, even though we asked them to type their name in. And there's a start date and close date. Students don't have forever to respond. Once that time frame is closed, they know we're going to choose what session you're going to go to. So if they want to have that choice, they need to get it done in a timely manner. And when you have these forms set up, there's a number of different ways that you can push out. You can either go to your Active Directory and email it out to all of them, which we did, with a link to this. So when you click on share, right, you can just copy this. You can create a QR code if you want, if you have it posted up around your school and students are just going to scan it with their phone and then it automatically opens it up, they can do that. You can copy the link, however you want to set it up, you can send it out to them. So email, QR code, you can post it in whatever distance learning platform you're using. We have Teams, so a lot of our advisory teachers posted that in their Advisory Connections class on their general page, a link, and telling the students to go and fill it out. We also posted it on the grade level teams. When we were in person, we would go down to the cafeteria and set up like 15 laptops, and basically create a station where they can go and log in and figure out what session they wanted to attend, doing it that way. It could be a little bit more tedious because if you're going to capture their email address, they're going to need to log in order to do that. So once you've done that, you get your responses. So 398 responses out of 900 and something students, not a great number. We had to choose a lot for students. When we were in person, we were like 98% of capturing all of them. So it depends on what your engagement in your school looks like. But this allows us to open it up in an Excel sheet, and now we know what students want to attend, how many students want to go to that session, what their preference choice is, and then we can kind of sort it out and move students around to balance out those sessions. So that will be the next step that we take.